Alright, Battlefield 6 has been out for a little bit over a month now, and it is now time to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Battlefield 6. In this video, I'm going to dive into the game's highest of highs and lowest of lows, and what the game really needs to do to continue to improve, and what I hope to see for the future of the game's maps and the upcoming map release, which is Eastwood. I think that's coming out on the 18th. For a video like this, I'm definitely going to be paying close attention to the comments section, so let me know all of your woes and your favorite parts of Battlefield 6. Of course, hit the like button, hit the sub button, do all that sort of stuff. I also stream every single day. For those of you that don't know, all the links are in the description for Instagram, Twitter, Discord, all that stuff. And I just want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support. I've been a Battlefield YouTuber for the better part of 6 years now, and this is the very first time where I'm actually having fun playing a Battlefield game and making content for it. So this is all very new to me, and I've just been trying to keep up with the consistency for you guys. So I mentioned I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Battlefield 6 so far, and some future aspects of the game. I think it's important to mention the ugly up front first, because I'm one of those people that wants to address the major issues of the game and get them fixed, because a better game is a better experience. The first thing that comes to my mind in this section is the netcode. I'm done dying around corners, Dice. It's been fun for the first month, you know, and gotten some funny clips, but now I'm done. And we need an update for this. It's already been mentioned in one of the community posts. I think it's coming sometime after December, or maybe they didn't even specify a date. But we need those fixes ASAP. We cannot allow the netcode to be in this state. Obviously, time to kill, time to death, and the netcode are all sort of intertwined, and this plays one of the biggest pivotal roles in the game experience. So let's just hope they address that. Another thing that's absolutely massive is the audio. The directionality of it, footstep sounds, the balance of all the audio. This is a huge part of the game. I mean, Battlefield 6 right now, I've seen a lot of people say they don't have much breathing room, and that's because it's very hard to be aware of what's going on in Battlefield 6, so you make a lot of mistakes that you probably wouldn't make otherwise, because you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, and when you make a single mistake, you die very quickly because of the time to kill. There have been numerous instances of people being directly next to me, and I cannot hear them, so Dice, please fix. Again, this has been addressed in a recent community post. I give them major props for their communication. However, we need substance. We need actual changes. And speaking of substance, you can't have a section of a video called The Ugly and not mention the abomination that has been Blackwell Fields. Since Battlefield 6 has released, there has been one new map added to the game, but it doesn't feel like we've gotten a new map, because Blackwell Fields is just that dog shit. I mean, it is genuinely one of the worst maps I've ever played in a Battlefield game. In fact, it is so bad, it feels like Season 1 didn't have a new map yet. And that's not good. So that inspired the thumbnail for this video with a picture of Eastwood that says, "Don't be trash." Eastwood cannot afford to be trash. It has to be significantly better than Blackwell Fields, and it has to be a good entry to the map pool in general. We don't want a situation where some of the main new content of the game turns out to be very mediocre. And speaking of mediocre, this is a perfect segue into talking about the vehicle design. I've talked about the vehicle design ad nauseum, and you may have noticed in the background gameplay, there probably won't be any vehicle gameplay. Yeah, that's by design. Vehicles in this game are not satisfying to play in right now. If you've played Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, pretty much any previous Battlefield game, you would know that Battlefield 6's vehicles in comparison are just so dog shit. And it isn't one of those things that's easily fixable. No, the problem with Battlefield 6's vehicle designs are very deep-rooted. I really feel as though the only way to genuinely remedy this entire situation is with a complete overhaul of every single vehicle in the game, which includes mechanics tweaking, rebalancing, all sorts of stuff. In my opinion, the vehicle design, particularly with tanks and IFVs, is in this really weird in-between gray area where they're in between arcade and like milsim in some aspects. They try to sort of combine two elements into one. It really doesn't make any sense. Like, I'll just give an example. The acceleration of tanks. Yes, tanks are slow, but holy shit, I feel like it takes 3 seconds for a tank to actually get up to speed. If I wanted that to be a real thing, I would probably play a different game. If you went back to, say, play Battlefield 4, when you hit a movement key in a tank, your tank moves in that direction. You can say that's unrealistic, but I would say it doesn't fucking matter. This is Battlefield, okay? So Battlefield sort of occupies that in-between space. it isn't trying to be a realistic game in all aspects. It cherry picks a lot of things. So in terms of vehicle design, they have to cherry pick the things that are going to improve the gameplay. You can have extremely detailed vehicle models that are basically one-to-one with real life. But when it comes to the mechanics, choose fun, choose responsiveness, choose, well, Battlefield arcadiness. Balance them how they were balanced and designed in previous Battlefield games. And the last thing that I'll mention in this ugly section has to do with something that is impacting a lot of people around the world. In a lot of different regions, people basically can't play Battlefield 6 because apparently all the servers are being filled with bots. And this was briefly addressed, I believe, in a community post, or perhaps David Serland replied to some posts. But basically, I think the situation is a lot of areas across the world don't have officially supported EA/DICE servers. That's pretty unacceptable, in my opinion. Get those official servers up and running so people can play the game they bought. Now, shifting gears entirely, we're going to talk about the good section. I realize I went the ugly, the good, and then the bad, but, you know, why not have a little fun? So in the good section, I just want to state up front that Battlefield 6, as a Battlefield game, has had a very good release. It's been received very well, and we're only 1 month in, and the base of the game DICE has to build off of is pretty fucking impressive. In my experience, this has been the least buggy Battlefield release I have played ever, and that's even over Battlefield 1. Maybe I don't remember correctly, but Battlefield 6 is off to a really good start. The issues that are present in the game, I've said this a million times, but they're all very fixable and I think very obvious, and that isn't always the case with Battlefield. Take Battlefield 2042, for instance. They had to waste content and development time to basically fix all of the base game maps in Battlefield 2042. They're probably not going to have to do that for Battlefield 6, even if some of the maps in Battlefield 6 are not the community's favorites. So to summarize the good here, I just think the game is in a really good state overall, and I really enjoy their communication, the direction of the changes, and their focus. I think they're still pretty spot on. They had a couple fuck-ups with, of course, like the Season 1 update rug pull, but I think this time around, everyone can tell that DICE is kind of on the money more. They seem to care more. They definitely communicate more. We regularly have statements from David Serland and Drunksy and more developers than that on Twitter. That is a rarity in Battlefield, but it doesn't seem to be a rarity now. Now, moving on to the bad section. So in this section, I wanted to highlight a particular combination of things that I think are heavily impacting Battlefield 6's gameplay. And these are all things that, of course, are fixable, like I mentioned in the previous section. A lot of Battlefield players are mentioning the game feels like there isn't any breathing room, and this is a lot of different combination of things. So number one, it's the map size, map design, audio, visibility, and time to kill, plus like netcode TTD things. The combination of all of these things basically make players feel like very confused. They make players feel as though they don't have any breathing room, they can't move anywhere without dying. And the way this breaks down is basically right now in Battlefield 6, you don't hear anyone, people are hard to see, and a lot of the maps have what I like to call densely packed verticality. Take Sobek City, Siege of Cairo, Empire State, and Manhattan Bridge, just to name a few maps. When you combine all of these things together, the game is incredibly difficult to actually read. The obvious things to do are to address audio and visibility concerns, but the biggest and most important thing to do is make sure that maps that are being added to the game don't have this random verticality spam feel. A great way to make sure this doesn't happen is take a look at previous Battlefield maps. A great example of this is Sane Crossing. Sane Crossing in Battlefield 3 had areas of height you could go up to. It had staircases, it has windows, but overall it was very limited access. In Battlefield 6, it feels like there's a ton of storefronts, there's a ton of side rooms, a ton of staircases, a ton of rooftops, a shit ton of windows, all packed into a very dense area. And when you have all of those buildings accessible, it really harms map flow and increases rattiness and decreases readability. What they should shoot for is an in-between. There should be some buildings that are accessible, some buildings that are there for, let's say, artistic expression, meaning they're inaccessible. A lot of Battlefield players seem to think that it's a cool idea if every building was accessible and you could look out of every window and if you could get to the 3rd and 4th and 5th floors. But in reality, what that does to gameplay is catastrophic, especially when weapons can reach out to such far distances and they're full auto. And this segues me into the other side of this, which is making sure that DICE very carefully balances the way they go about Battlefield 6's gunplay. A lot of Battlefield players don't seem to understand why spread or why dispersion is in the game, and the exact reason is basically range management. You don't want ARs beaming people out to 150 meters in full auto. We went through this in Battlefield 2042, and DICE had to basically rework the gunplay of that game because it was such a massive problem. In a recent community post, they stated that they are looking at making the weapons more accurate over range. This is very, very delicate indeed, and I don't actually think there needs to be any adjustments made. I think a lot of people don't understand how to burst fire correctly. If I'm being honest, it might be a skill issue. I don't want to come off as a certain way, but I think a lot of people complain about the mechanic being in the game rather than learning how to mitigate the mechanic and actually learn how to use the weapons. Spending time with each weapon, understanding some weapons you burst faster, other weapons maybe you don't have to burst as much. But regardless of each weapon's use case scenario, bursting should absolutely be in the game, and they need to be very careful with how accurate they make full auto weapons in Battlefield 6, because that also contributes to the feeling of players having no breathing room. How are you supposed to feel safe in a game where you can get instantly beamed across the map from 100, 150 meters away from full auto weapons, you know? There are a lot of angles in Battlefield 6. It's very difficult to be aware of all those angles, especially when you increase the distance you can dive from. That directly increases the amount of angles you have to worry about. So there we go. That's my Battlefield good, bad, and the ugly. I certainly hope they continue on this good path for Battlefield 6. I'm excited to see how this game shapes up. We're only a month in, and that's really shocking to me. It feels like it's been way longer than that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've been playing the game and having fun, actually, so it's all a blur to me. But definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If you want to stay up to date with everything Battlefield 6, this is the channel for you. I cover all updates, all weapon guides, all that sort of stuff. Be sure to hit that sub button, hit the like button, and guys, I'm posting regularly on my new Instagram and TikTok. All those links will be in the description. Follow those channels up if you didn't know I had those channels. Yes, I do. Everything will be in the description along with Discord, Twitter, and of course the streams. Hope to see you guys in those live streams as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.